Hello, welcome to The Wandering Drew. I am Drew. Thank you for joining me. On today's episode, I'm going to continue discussing some of the revisions I've made to my equipment over the past year. If you've been listening or watched previous videos, you hear me mention that I've upgraded some equipment. So today I'm going to discuss my cook system. I recently changed my cook system and I'm taking it on an upcoming hike, which I'll be doing in less than a week. And I'm going to discuss some of the factors and reasons on why I decided to make that change. This is my most recent change that I made to my equipment, and it involves my cooking system. So I changed both the stove and the cookware that I use to cook with. I'm going to discuss some of the factors that led me to make that change after 3 years of using a different system. I believe I've said it before that I am constantly evaluating my equipment and looking at new equipment on how to upgrade and better my equipment, whether that's efficiency, being something is lighter weight, or it's smaller in size. Those are usually the three factors that I'm looking at mostly lately in deciding for a piece of equipment. So if it works or works better than what I have, if it weighs less and it takes up less space, those are all pluses. Now there's a trade-off. Sometimes you might actually have to go to a piece that weighs more, but it does more functionality, and it's actually a better fit for you. So I'm constantly evaluating my equipment, looking at stuff. I love tech, I love gadgets, and I like shopping. So I'm constantly looking at new gear and thinking of ways that I can change what I have now to something else. I also think that you should be doing the same thing. You should always be evaluating your equipment. Is this piece of equipment still working for me? Is there something better out there? Is it time to make a change? The easiest time to make a change is when something breaks and you have to replace it. But choosing to get rid of something that's working for you or is still functioning to go to a newer piece of equipment or another piece of equipment is a much harder and bigger decision. Changing gear always comes at a price. And as we know with backpacking stuff, it's usually a costly price. Some equipment is very expensive, and sometimes it's just not worth upgrading to a more expensive piece of equipment because of the price and what you get out of it. In addition, most people never go back to their older gear. So you either end up keeping it around where it collects and sits on a shelf, or maybe you, if you're smarter than me sometimes, you sell it, or you give it away to other friends that are going hiking or starting out, who are more than glad to get your cast-offs because it's generally priced right. Designs have gotten smaller and lighter over the last several years, but most of the designs are pretty much the same, and only the materials have changed to get lighter, and some of the features have. But more or less, they're around the same design when comparing model to model. I've had 5 different backpacking, or what I would call lightweight stoves, including my most recent purchase. My first one was this MSR WinPro. It's an original WinPro. You can see it's kind of the bigger design. Really good back then. Dehydrated meals weren't as big, and you generally had the ability to put a big pot to make soup or stew, or even a skillet to make like eggs or bacon or sausage in the morning. It's very stable. It came with a heat shield and a windscreen, and like some of the liquid fuel models, you have a screw type adapter that goes to a fuel canister, but it's not part of the base of the unit. Whereas almost all units nowadays are streamlined, where the fuel canister is the base of your stove, basically. So this does work. It's not a bad system. It's still pretty good for what it does, but comparatively to some of the other things, it's a little bulkier. It actually doesn't too bad on the weight. It was a little pricey when I first bought it, but it weighs 285 grams. with the windscreen and the heat shield, which is a little heavier. You could lighten this up, obviously, leave that behind, and it comes in this little stuff sack. So, still happy. It made my first trip on the AT with me. It was just a section, a little small section, hike. So probably have some emotional attachment as well. It's been sitting around, has not been on the trail in years, probably at least 4 to 5 years. Probably should find it a new home, donate it, or sell it so that it can have some more adventures. But it's still functional. Another stove that I purchased after watching another hiker that was hiking on the AT used is an Esbit stove. And this has been around for like 30 something years, 40 years. It's very simplistic. It's very lightweight, and actually the cheapest of all the stoves that I purchased at $26. It's also the smallest, so it's got a lot of pluses going for it. It has some negatives as well. It uses solid fuel, so you can't just go in and buy a canister of gas. You have to buy these solid fuel tablets, and they come in 3 different sizes: 4 grams, 5 grams, and 14 grams. They each burn for a different amount of time, and you can actually cut the tablets in half and take them. They're very shelf stable. They have I've heard an estimated shelf life of 10 years plus. I've had these for several years, haven't had a problem. They also make very good emergency fire starters. A flame goes to them after about 10 or 15 seconds, they'll light off, and they stay lit, depending on what size you get. The 4 gram one is supposed to be 5 minutes, the 5 gram is 7 minutes, and the 14 gram is 12 minutes of burn time. Your results may vary, obviously. If it's windy or cold, you're not going to get as much heat. The problem is there's no way to manage this heat. You cannot adjust this flame. You can use more than one tablet if you need a hotter or longer flame, but you can't turn this or adjust it in any way. And that's one of the bad things about it. I've seen it cook ramen noodles in a pot. I've seen someone cook actually 2 servings, 2 different packages with one tablet, the larger tablets. And it's very simplistic. In fact, that it's got no moving parts, no valves to go bad, no O-rings, no nothing. And it's a really nice design. You basically have, this is your burner can. You put the tablet in here. It's got a little square in the middle where it's supposed to go. It sits in there. When it burns completely, you have very little, there's just a little bit of ash in there. The pot nestles on top of it and cooks. You have 2 handles so you can grab it and touch it without burning yourself. And it's got graduation marks on it, which makes it easy, and it even comes with a little lid. Self-contained system. You can put the fuel tablets inside even to store them. So it packs down. It's the smallest of all of them. It's 3.5 inches high by about 4 1/4 inches wide. So very, very small. It weighs 209 grams or 7.3 ounces complete. So it's pretty light. You can cook, but there's no way to control the flame, as I said, or the heat. You got limited cooking time. You're based only on what the tablets can give you. If your meal's not done, you either need to use another tablet. So you may use more fuel than expected, especially if it's a windy or cold day. But other than that, it does get some mess on the bottom of the pan. You have to, which is a good reason to either, some people will actually put tin foil to separate it so the tin foil gets dirty and the pot itself doesn't get dirty. That's another reason to use this little stuff sack it comes in. That keeps all that dirt, that residue from the bottom of the pan off of your gear inside your pack. And you can use a better stuff sack if you want. So the stuff sack's going to get dirty. You're sacrificing that so your gear doesn't get dirty. You don't want the inside of your pack getting dirt on it. So this is an option. I basically used it once. Not a big fan. Sounds better than it is, but it's a really good emergency, like bug out bag item, or a hurricane or a storm, power outages. This will cook for you. It's pretty good. You want to make just coffee or something like that, or even just heating water. This is a very good option. It takes a little longer than any of the other systems because you can't regulate that heat. So you get what you get, and you don't get upset, as they say. But that's it. But basically the stove I've been using for the past 3 years or so has been the Jetboil Flash. It's a good system. It's self-compact. I do like it, and it's worked for me for the past 3 years. But I decided it was time for a change. So going back a little bit and explaining why I decided to make the change, I decided to change the way that I eat my food on the trail. For the past 3 years, what I've been doing is dehydrated meals or rehydrating the meals. So I generally have, dried out food, usually pasta, rice, sometimes some couscous or something like that, that I just basically add water to. And I've been doing that in a freezer bag. So the problem I have with the freezer bags is that a lot of times, due to an accident or two where you pour hot water in and it's too hot and it melts the plastic, or it leaks and you lose your food, I've erred on the side of caution of not heating my water so hot, and then I add it to the plastic bag and I would let it sit. Well, the problem is that sometimes the water wouldn't get hot enough to really fully reconstitute the food in a sufficient. If I waited longer, the food would be good. And I've had some good success with it as well, but it hasn't worked for me. More often than not, I noticed I was eating very al dente or crunchy pasta or rice, which really doesn't do you good after a long day of hiking, and I end up not eating my food as much because it's not as enjoyable. And I generally do not cook breakfast or lunch, so I considered going stoveless actually, because I'm already doing that pretty much 60-70% of the time of my meals. I'm going stoveless. I'm not cooking anything. I never cook lunch. Breakfast, if I do cook, it's usually just oatmeal or grits, which is once again boiling water. So the jet boil was really good. I never really cooked inside the pot, so I wouldn't get dirty. So the jet boil does a great job of heating up, of transferring heat, probably too good. And the flux ring on the bottom where the heat is conducted, you generally get burned food on the bottom of your thing because there's no way to regulate that heat. The heat basically is, I mean, you can go hot or hotter really, but you get a lot of stuck food on the bottom. It's not so easy to clean sometimes. It also taints the food, the taste. But I was just boiling water in it, and it worked really good for that, because it does. It boils water fast. And it worked for me for, like I said, the last 3 years. But I've decided to make the change to now cook in my pot. And the ability to regulate the heat, or in this case, control the flames, was very important to me. So I decided that the jet boil basically had to go. And I started looking around. So MSR had just come out with a new stove a little while ago called the Pocket Rocket Deluxe. And I looked at it, but I decided it wasn't for me. The Pocket Rocket Deluxe is a little heavier. It also seems to be geared for two people, sharing meals or cooking together. I've been going backpacking and hiking lately by myself, or if I've been with someone else, we don't do meal planning together. So I don't need to cook my food with their food. I'd rather have one system that I can use for myself every time I'm going hiking. So I started revisiting the choices, and I decided to go with the MSR Pocket Rocket 2. And I like the Pocket Rocket 2 over the Pocket Rocket because it has that flame resistor. It has a little Y-shaped piece on the top that protects it from the flame blowing out if it's windy. I also like the fact that I was able to get it in this stove kit where everything's together. And this is how it came. And this is the MSR Pocket Rocket 2 mini stove kit. And it's self-contained. It has everything I need to cook except for the fuel. And I'll go into that. So I usually just get up and go. I don't cook breakfast. I don't even have coffee. Yes, I know. No coffee on the trail generally. I don't even make coffee usually most mornings when I'm on the trail. So I don't need a stove except for the dinner. And that's the only time. And I look forward to that. That hot meal at night comforts me, I guess, reinvigorates me, makes the day seem not so bad, the miles not seem so bad, and helps me get relaxed for the night ahead and for a good night's sleep. So I did want to cook my food. I decided that stoveless wasn't for me. I've been basically buying gear that's either smaller or lighter. And this purchase kept in line with that. The Jet Boil Flash is 423 grams or 14.9 ounces. The Pocket Rocket 2 mini stove kit is 9.9 ounces. So basically a savings of 4 ounces. Not a big deal, but pretty significant enough. If I'm going to buy something new anyway, might as well buy something that's lighter. The Jet Boil is $95 right now, and it's been pretty consistent. I think that's what I paid for it. The MSR Pocket Rocket mini stove kit, two mini stove kit, is $79. So it's a little cheaper. It is less bulky if you compare them side by side. That's another factor. This takes up less space in my kit. I can still fit a fuel canister inside of here, which there is one in there, and I can fit a fuel canister in here, but this takes up approximately 3 inches less, almost 4 inches. I get 7 1/8 inches on height on this, and I get 4.5 on this. Okay, I estimate it's approximately 16 cubic inches of less space. Once again, not a big deal, but it's enough that I could put another fuel canister in here, and it would still equal this. So that's about the size of space I'm saving. Not a lot, but enough for me to put something else in there. Space in my pack is precious. Weight is precious. And I'm happy with the decision so far. It has not been out on the trail yet. I have a trip coming up in less than a week. I will be taking the Pocket Rocket 2 out there, and I will, of course, report back on how it did. If you pick and choose, you buy your stove one place, you buy your pot, I could have gotten even lighter weight. I just wanted the ease of a purchase. Everything goes together. Everything packs down together. I didn't need to worry about it. It was honestly a no-brainer. It does save me a bunch of weight. They advertise this as being 9.8 ounces. I have 9.9. That could be due to the fact that I actually have, the one difference of these two is, beside the size and the weight, is this one has an igniter, a piezo igniter on it. The Pocket Rocket 2 doesn't. So MSR does make a small portable piezo lighter that you can just do, but I use a Bic lighter. I always have one anyway. So either way, that's not a problem. As a matter of fact, on this Jetboil, the lighter, the igniter broke. The insulator, very common problem on them, they cracked. I wish you could fix that and replace it, but you can't without replacing the whole burner assembly. They're attached. So in essence, you're buying a new stove. It's not cost effective. I like that this packs down small. The cup has graduation marks. It's a little, it's good to measure out and even to use as a cup to drink or eat out of if you really want to. I like that. If this gets dirty from soot, I can wipe it down. And because this is going on the outside, the dirt won't get in my pack or on my gear. Plus, I will use the sack as well, which should keep any dirt or debris from impacting any of the clothes or sleeping bag or items I have in my pack from getting dirt from the cooking process. Everything packs down in here. As you can see, I have a small, 4 ounce basically, but it's really a 100 gram fuel canister in here. This happens to be a Jetboil canister because I have several of them for this. They work just as well. It's all the same type of fuel, same connection. This is the stove itself. It unfolds and opens so it can be compact. This alone, if I want to just take this camping and use it with a fuel canister, I can. This weighs 2.6 ounces by itself. So together, the system is 9.8. With my igniter in it, it's 9.9. So I still saved 4 ounces of weight, and you can see it packs up pretty small. In efficiency, in terms of cooking, I can control the flame on this. The bad thing is, and technically, and a lot of, I see a lot of reviews on purchasing items and stuff that I feel aren't really much of a difference. For instance, the Jetboil has an advertised cooking time to boil a measured amount of water of 10 seconds less than the MSR. 10 seconds. That's not a big difference. I'll wait the 10 seconds to save 4 ounces and some money if I'm buying these, right? I can save about $20, 4 ounces of weight for 10 seconds difference in boiling water. That's not a big deal if I want to use this. But I'm going to cook in it actually, so I want to be able to clean it. I can get my hand in there and clean it, and it won't get so hot if I can control that flame that my food will be scorched or burnt on the bottom. So that's the reason that I decided to make this up. In addition, since I'm going to take that cup with me, I decided I'm not going to bring a separate mug anymore, which saved me total another 104 grams or 3.6 ounces. So in total, I'm saving about 9 to 9.5 ounces of weight by changing to the MSR Pocket Rocket 2. So that, to me, is a significant weight difference, and that justifies the purchase. I feel it's more efficient in terms of it cooks just as well. 10 seconds to boil a liter of water is not a big difference. I can control the flame, which gives me more control over my finished product. I'm actually going to cook in it, so I don't just need to boil water anymore. I'm going to probably end up using it to eat out of as well, so I don't have to wash and dirty something else, so I won't carry a separate pot or cup or bowl. Any stove you get from a major manufacturer is going to do what it's directed to do, designed to do. It will cook and be good for you. The question is there something out there that maybe fits what you're doing better? And being that I wanted to cook my food and have a little bit of control, the JetBoil Flash, which is a great product, and I like it, I'm not getting rid of it yet, just needed a change. So I upgraded after 3.5 years or so to the MSR Pocket Rocket 2. And I feel that being the size is less, it will take up less space in my pack, it weighs less, so it'll be easier on me. It is able to cook more efficiently for what I'm going to be doing. I felt that was a time to make the purchase and make the change. So the cost was right because I was able to save $20 on it. The weight savings, the space savings, and the ability to control my cooking all made this the time to make the change, because my cooking style had changed as well. Otherwise, more than likely, I'd probably just stay with the JetBoil. I don't know if I would make the upgrade just to save the 4 ounces or 9 ounces of weight. I probably wouldn't. One note about the Esbit, these solid fuel tablets. Just be aware that these solid fuel tablets, while a great product and good to have in an emergency, have this odor issue. And for me, that's a deal breaker. So I don't generally use this. I probably should get rid of it. Maybe I'll donate it somewhere. I'm sure some Boy Scout somewhere would love to bring this home and use it to cook. So that's a possibility. But the odor of these things, really, did I mention it has an odor? It's really strong. My hands smell funny to me now. I can't wait to go wash them. I feel like I have to wash them now. And it's a strong smell. And if it's in your backpack, everything else picks up that smell. I don't know if it affects animals coming near you or staying away from you. Maybe that's a plus, maybe. But it definitely is noticeable when you're sitting in your tent and your gear smell like this. When you come home and you put your gear down, obviously then the smell of the trail, it's going to smell bad. And you'd have to air it out. And hopefully it comes clean. So that's it. So for me, like I said, the time to make a change was now. I made that change. And this will be coming on the trail with me. I'm doing a trail in less than a week. I'll be out for about a 5 to 6 day hike. We'll see how I do and how the Pocket Rocket 2 does as well. I'll be sure to report back to you with my opinions and whether it worked for me or not, along with some of my other gear that I'm taking out. As always, if you like what you see, please click on the like button below. Please leave a comment, positive or negative, on what you like or what you don't like, or your thoughts, what type of stove you're using, what's working for you, what's not working, any issues you've had. If you'd like to see me cover something in the future or discuss another topic, please leave a suggestion below, or you can email me. And as always, thank you for joining me. Till we meet again.